Hey guys, it's Drew again. So what's the difference between Enos Slaughter and the superstars of Minnie Minoso and Carl Furillo? Well, the answer is the number one. What are we talking about today? Well, let's check it out. So baseball is a great game, and I think if you're watching this channel, you truly appreciate it. Not only the game itself, but its history and how rich it is. And one of the things about baseball is we know certain numbers, and if I say a number, you know exactly what I'm talking about, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it. No matter your opinion of history and who did what, and was it fair or wasn't it fair or anything else. But if I say 714, the first thing you thought of, Babe Ruth. If I say 1941, well, you know that year is known for two really big things. 406, which is another number, and 56. And you know what I'm talking about when I say those numbers. Let's see, another number, 61. 1961, 61, and 61, you're thinking about Roger Maris. If I say 755, you know what that number means. There are so many numbers that we identify with a person, with a moment, with a team, and it's all part of the history. It's what makes up the fabric of what we enjoy about reading, researching, remembering, telling trivia to our friends, to people that don't care, or whatever about baseball. It's what makes it so interesting. And all these numbers are, well, they're just that. They're numbers. So I was doing some research for another video that I really wanted to highlight a certain player. And as I was researching and learning about them personally and some other stuff, I came across something that I kind of knew, but I didn't really dawn on me until I started thinking. So what I was doing was I was actually talking about Carl Furillo. Now, if you don't know who Carl Furillo was an outfielder, right fielder for the Brooklyn and then finally Los Angeles Dodgers. He was a mainstay, a staple. He was consistent in his career for the Dodgers in all those great winning teams of back in the late 40s and all the way through the 50s. Won 2 World Series, both one in Brooklyn and one in Los Angeles. He was kind of that blue collar, come to work every day kind of player, and it was really an interesting character. There's an interesting twist and stuff throughout his career, but he came to work every day. He did his job. He did it well. He was consistent, and he's just a really great character. And as I was researching this, one thing that I saw was his career batting average ended up being 299. Well, we know that there's milestones in baseball. If a guy hits 3,000 strikeouts, let's say, that's a huge thing. If I say 3,000 hits exactly, you know who I'm talking about, Roberto Clemente. If I say the 4,000 strikeout club or the 300 win club, you can start naming people off and say, well, these guys are in or these guys are not. If I say the 500 home run club or 600 home club or even the 700 home run club, you can start naming people because they are all identified with this number that's a perfect number for whatever we're talking about. Well, in baseball, as you know, batting is a lot. And the difference between accumulative stats, as in how many home runs you hit, how many strikeouts you get, how many wins you achieve, is you can't take those away once you have them. But for a different stat, a qualitative stat like batting average, it will go up and down based on your performance that day. If you have a great day, your batting average, because it's an average, will go up. If you have a terrible day, it will go down, no matter how good or how bad of a hitter you are. Same thing with ERA and so many other statistics. Well, Carl Furillo ended up his career at 299, so close to 300. Does it make a difference? Does it take away from his career? No, not really. He still had a great career, won 2 World Series, MVP consideration, batting leader one year, I believe it was 1953. He still had all these great things. The same thing happened with Minnie Minoso. Minnie Minoso mainly played for, or he started out with the White Sox, ended up playing in Cleveland, and he, great career, superstar, great, fun, exciting player. There's just great trivia about him coming back, maybe as a promotional stunt or whatever, but played. Last time he ever came to the plate was in 1980. He was the oldest player, I believe, to play or start a game or come to a game. I don't really know. But the point is he ended up his career at 299. Now, what we're comparing is to Enos Slaughter, another Hall of Famer. Enos Slaughter, when you look at the record books, his lifetime career batting average was exactly 300. So picture this. Imagine being one point away. Imagine if, and I don't want to think about this because it was tragedy of why he never got another chance, but imagine Roberto Clemente in his last at bat in 1972 grounded out and didn't hit a double, and he ended up with 29.99 before that tragic event that took his life just a few months later. Would we still remember him, or is it just the fact that 3,000 exactly just adds a perfect little ring to that story? Well, what I found out was in Carl Furillo's career, as well as Manny Minoso's career, if they had one more hit, any point in their career, one time where an outfielder reached and just caught the ball as a shoestring catch, but instead it was just a couple inches different and it would have landed for a single, or one time where a shortstop goes into the hole and throws it. It's close play at first, but he's just a half a step quicker and he gets there and he's safe at first as opposed to being out, and he got one more hit. If either of these players had one more hit in their career, they would have ended up at 3,000 hits. They had over 14,500 hit or at bats combined between the two of them. If they had two more hits, one each, they both would have ended up in the same level as Enos Slaughter. Now, does that make Enos Slaughter a better player than either of them? It's debatable, and we can debate who is better and all this other stuff. But the point is could you imagine being so close to that number and not being able to, and just replaying? They talk about baseball players' memories. They remember at bats. They remember games and situations and scenarios. Imagine if I just got that hit. If I just hustled that one time, maybe I could have gotten a hit. If I had just pulled the ball a little bit more, or maybe just added a little bit more to my swing, it would have gone over the wall, or maybe just pulled up a little bit, or I debated dropping for a bunt because the third baseman was playing back, but I decided to swing away. What if I just bunted instead, and they had one more hit in 14,500 at bats between the two of them? They could have ended up at 300 like Enos Slaughter. And on the same thing, or on the opposite side of the coin, what if Enos Slaughter struck out one more time? What if that one bloop single ended up being a pop-up? One more time, and Enos Slaughter would end up at 299. Does it make a difference? I don't know if it makes a difference. It's funny because we talk about Mickey Mantle, and we all believe the icon he is within our hobby and everything else. But Mickey Mantle, he ended up with 298 lifetime career batting. And he talked about how that was one of his biggest regrets, how he hated when he looked at his stat line and he saw 500 plus home runs, and he saw all the World Series championships, and he saw a Triple Crown winner, and he saw the MVPs, and he saw the accolades and the love that he was poured upon by millions of fans for generations and decades, and people would come and talk to him. But 298. Because in his last season, he didn't have any speed. He had no power left, or very little power. And he tried so hard, but it was sub-average, and it ended up taking his great career down just below 300 by the end of the season. And for the rest of his life, and in all eternity, when you add up his batting average, 298. And he hated that. He looked at the negative. He looked at the what ifs. Well, you know what? Mickey Mantle was still a great player. Carl Furillo was still a great player. Manny Minoso was still a fantastic player. And I just thought this was an interesting statistic. I thought it was kind of interesting to talk about. So I have some cards, of course, and I have a couple other things I want to talk about. I have a Bowman card from each of the three players. So this is a 1949 Bowman. This is a Carl Furillo. This is his rookie card, actually. And I love this card because it's got this beautiful red. This one's centered well. It's got the blue difference between you love them, you hate them. It doesn't matter. I love the fact that colorized the black and white sets, and I really love this example of Furillo. It's got some creases, but you know what? So do I. I have this 1953 Bowman. Enos Slaughter. And I love this. In fact, if you ever see me show a card and it's one of these screw downs, which I do get hate for some reason, but I know how to use a screw down properly to not damage my card. But anyway, then that means that these cards are in my cases, meaning they're top 100 cards for whatever reason that I love within my collection. And this Enos Slaughter is fantastic. It's got the beautiful image, the clouds behind him. It's got obviously a spring training photo. Shout out to my buddy Hugo. It's got the trees. And what's different about this is not just that it's him kneeling or you seeing him with two bats. It's the fact that the angle, the photographer had to get down low to take this picture of almost looking up at him, showing that he was sort of bigger than life and a gigantic kind of a person. I love this photo in this set, and of course I love this set. And finally I have this 1955 Manny Minoso. And I love this Minoso card. 55, again, you love it, you hate it. whatever. This is a great example in this set. It's got him showing kind of this awkward bunt, and he just had this mindset to go out and to do anything to entertain the crowd, to do what he wanted to do. I love this card because it just shows, yes, it's a pose photo, but it shows a different kind of pose, and I love this card. And another thing that I have of all three of them is I don't have a huge autograph collection, but I do actually have an autograph baseball, single sign baseball from each of these. So this one's a little faded, but this is a Carl Furillo, and these are not super easy to find. When I do my Carl Furillo video, we're going to talk about his relationship with baseball and with the Dodgers post his career, and maybe you'll learn a few things. But this is a nice clean ball that he signed in the '80s before he passed away in 1989. And then also I have a beautiful signed Minnie Minoso, and I actually got this through the mail. It's one of the things I really love doing, but I did through the mail. I didn't get a whole lot of baseballs. It was a lot more expensive to mail them to and from, but I did want a Minoso, and he signed this beautifully. It's a little crooked, but you know what? It kind of reminds me of the tilt of his bat, just the way he sort of signed it uphill. And then finally, I do have this Edith Slaughter baseball, also signed in the '80s. Just you can tell from the ball, but a great signature, nice and bold right there. And three great players. There's no denying their career. There's no denying their accomplishments. There's no denying their achievements of what they did on the field. But with two of them, just one more hit, and they could have been 300 like Enos Slaughter. So anyway, I found this was interesting. I just thought I'd share my thoughts on it. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you learned something, but I appreciate it again, like always. Thanks for coming along. And until next time, you guys be good.